Hello, my name is Greg Lubimov. I'm director of the Phoenix Center and a member of the Renfrew County Best Start Network. It's often difficult to share concerns with a parent over issues that their children might be facing. This could include a developmental issue, language, social skills, academic skills, and professionals may have concerns about how to do this or how they might prepare for this. This video is our way of trying to help you to be more comfortable and to find ways to make it easier for parents to hear some of these issues. There's a number of things that professionals worry about when they face a time that they're going to share these sorts of concerns with a parent. This includes,
I'm not confident.
I've never done it before.
What if they get angry?
I just don't feel it's my place.
I had a bad reaction.
we know that early identification and early intervention with a child when there are concerns provides that child with the best possible outcomes. It's important for us to use our tools and techniques, our observation skills, the screening instruments that we're using in our workplace to, as early as possible, identify when those concerns are arising and to be able to share those in constructive ways with the caretaker or the parent. The goals of this video include helping those who are working with children feel more comfortable, to feel better prepared, to be able to have a more positive outcome when there are concerns that you're trying to relate to a parent, and probably most importantly, to be able to maintain and even build upon a positive relationship with the parent of a child when there are concerns. The first step you need to take when you're sharing a concern with a parent is preparation. The better prepared you are, the more positive your outcome will be. There are 4 parts to preparation that you need to think about. What you're going to say, who you need to say it to, when it's going to be said, and where you're going to have the discussion. And we're going to talk about each of these in more detail. We talked about one of the first areas of preparation is the what. That's the content of what you want to say to a parent and what the concerns actually are. So we've done some sort of a screening or evaluation of the child or observation of the child, and a concern or concerns have arisen. One of the first errors that many of us make is by presenting too many concerns. There may be 4 or 5 or 6 areas that you're worried about, but pick the 1 or 2 that are the most critical. What we don't want to do is overwhelm parents. We want to also make sure that we are concrete about those areas of concern that we have. Be specific. Have examples. That's very helpful for a parent and can help them to really click into what you're saying so they recognize the behavior of the child or the issue that the child is facing. Don't use jargon. It's very easy for us to use language or words or acronyms that don't make sense to a parent. So use simple, clear, concise language with the parent. Also, make sure you're talking about some of the strengths of the child. Don't have the whole conversation about the 1 or 2 issues or problems that the child is facing. Make sure that you bring forward that they're very playful, that they're very intelligent, that they are organized or they are working well with other children. So talk about those areas as well as a part of your conversation. You may want to make some notes so that you don't forget what you're trying to say and stay on track and on focus with the end result of making sure those 1 or 2 concerns are, again, clearly presented to the parent. If you think there's going to be some issues with a parent and they may not take it well, you may want to discuss the matter first with a supervisor or manager and make sure that you have all of your material, all of your content in good order. If you do have a tool that you use to survey, an evaluation, or an instrument, have that with you so that you can show the parent what you used and actually demonstrate for them what you're talking about. These pieces in the what will again help you be much more successful in getting your point across to the parent. The next area in preparation is the who. Who needs to be invited? Is it just mom? Is it mom and dad? Is there another caretaker or primary person in the child's life that could benefit from the discussion that you're having? Could be an uncle, a grandparent, or a child care provider that is providing some home care, etc. When you decide on the who, always make sure that you get permission from the parent as to including those other people that may not be an official caretaker. The third area to think about in preparation is where to meet. What you want to do is choose a location that is not intimidating and is quiet enough and not distracting for the parent or for yourself. It may be at the setting that you usually see the child in, or you may want to choose another location that perhaps might be more comfortable for you and for the parent. The fourth area of preparation is the when, or the timing. When we're setting up the meeting, you want to make sure that the time set is convenient for the parent to attend, and also that you leave enough time for the parent to be able to hear what you have to say and to have some time to ask some questions or to have some discussion. At this point, you may not be sure of how a parent might react, so you want to have some time to be able to comfort or explain or provide some time for the parent to think about what you've said. Make sure you have time yourself, that you're not going to back-to-back meetings and you have to rush out. That is very distracting for a parent. It makes them feel uncomfortable and perhaps not as important as they should feel. The next section is sharing the concern. It's important for you to remember that you're not diagnosing. You're sharing an issue or an observation or the findings from a screening tool or instrument that you've used with the parent. You'll be another professional who makes the final diagnosis and/or recommendations for treatment. What makes it sometimes more difficult in this stage is that you may be the first person who is actually raising the issue or concern with a parent. And for a parent who's hearing it for the first time, it may be hard for them to listen to this or to understand or to appreciate how this can be helpful. In sharing the information with a parent, it's important in that meeting to make sure a number of things are taking place. You want to make sure that you're greeting the parent warmly and in a friendly manner, and your body language is positive, not clenched hands or crossed hands, that you're not perhaps sitting behind a desk, that you may want to sit closer to a parent and have a more informal type of setting that you're sitting in. You want to avoid jargon and difficult language that a parent may not be able to understand. Again, stay focused, be very clear. Use examples. You may want to demonstrate what you mean. You may want to role play yourself or ask the parent if they can recognize what you're talking about in behavior they've seen in their child. You want to make sure that the parent is having a chance to ask questions and to give their viewpoints. Many parents feel guilty when they hear there are concerns or issues about their child. And you want to make sure that you talk about that and that it is a normal reaction to perhaps feel guilty or feel blamed, but that's not what you're doing. And really it's a matter of working together to make sure that the child has the best possible journey through their life. And this is done through a partnership between yourself and them. An important part of sharing the information is making sure that the information has been heard correctly. So throughout the session, and especially at the end, you want to ask the parent what they heard in terms of the concerns and what they heard in terms of the action plan, and make sure it's correct. It's interesting how often a parent has not heard it the way that you intended, and it gives you a chance to correct it. The third section is managing challenging reactions from parents. This is perhaps the most difficult area for all of us. Fortunately, in the majority of situations where we share concerns with parents, it goes quite well. Parents are engaged and interested, they're attentive to what we're saying, they're supportive, and they want to get support from us. They are focused on what is best for their child. But there are situations where it doesn't go so well. And there are 3 common reactions that parents have that may be difficult for us to manage. These are anger, denial, feeling guilty or blame. Let's look at each of those reactions separately. First of all, anger. And that is probably the most difficult one for us to deal with, because it does create some sense of fear or lack of security for ourselves if we have a parent who is suddenly starting to explode or becoming very upset or yelling or shouting at us. What you want to make sure we're doing is to recognize what the feeling is. And if you have a parent who looks like they're getting upset, don't wait for them to blow their top. You want to perhaps stop at that point that you notice it and identify that you might be feeling angry right now, or what are you feeling right now, or you look upset. Give them a chance to put voice to their feeling rather than keeping it locked up inside and then having to break out. That in itself can be very helpful to a parent and means that you are actually looking at them and trying to support them and are interested in how they are reacting. Ask them what they heard, what they understand you are trying to tell them, and what is it about that that upsets them. And allow them to disagree. Give them permission to not be accepting of that information, because that will reduce the conflict right away. It's not that you have to be right, and they have a point of view that may be different that you can take into consideration. If it is not getting contained, if you find a parent is staying angry, you may want to not pursue the session, but to give them time to think about what you said. Provide them with some ideas or thoughts about what they might want to observe, and set another time. Give them time to cool down. It might be just taking a break for coffee. It might be giving them a chance to walk outside and come back in and talk, or it might be setting a date a week later or 2 weeks later. Time can sometimes make a big difference in people looking at information a little bit differently. Make sure that you are being supportive of the parent. Make sure you're identifying what they are doing for the child. Just coming in and meeting with you is helpful, and that you're recognizing them as being a positive influence on their child. So you try to make them feel as good as possible and to hear the news as objectively as possible. The second challenge is denial. And probably the most common error that we make as professionals working with parents is we try and convince them that 1 and 1 is 2. And they're saying, no, 1 and 1 is 3. Or we're saying 1 and 1 is 3, and they're trying to convince us that 1 and 1 is really 2. And that doesn't get us anywhere. What you can state to a parent is this is what you have found, and they are very welcome to get a second opinion, or you can come up with an action plan to say, how do we find out what's really happening if your child has this issue or doesn't have this issue? It may be something that a parent can check out at home, perhaps even with that same screening tool. Or it may be something you say, over the next week, let's watch this in the daycare setting or in the early year setting, and then get back together and look at it again. When a parent is provided with an option, their sense of having to fight or challenge around not accepting something or denying something disappears. So don't get into that conflict, and give an option. The third common challenge is a parent who feels guilty or blamed. And for this one, you want to again label that they might be feeling guilty, they might be feeling blamed, and you want to normalize, you want to be supportive, you want to be positive. Again, introducing strengths of theirs, strengths of their child will be helpful. Making clear that many parents have the sort of issue or concern that you're presenting about their child, and that in almost all cases there is a way out, that there are things that can be done that are constructive, that are helpful for the child to move ahead. When a parent feels that you're being positive and supportive, when they feel that they're not alone, then they can let go of that guilt or blame. Sometimes not totally, but at least enough to be able to hear what you're saying and to not be paralyzed by that sense of guilt. When you are dealing with difficult situations with a parent, there will be some times that it just doesn't work out no matter what you do or what you try, where a parent in anger gets up and leaves, or in denial just says you don't know what you're talking about, or in guilt and blame can't let go that they have done something wrong and just feel overwhelmed with that. What you want to make sure is that you don't leave a parent with a sense that you are rejecting them, and you always leave the door open, no matter how they might leave that session. That you invite them to return whenever they want to discuss with you when they're ready, and that you're prepared to go over this again at any time. It's interesting how often parents, when they think about it, will come back if they feel that door has been left open. But if it's shut, it really closes an opportunity for them that they won't have later on. We hope this video has been helpful to you in being able to raise concerns with parents and share them in constructive ways. The work that you do with young children is so important for their positive growth and development. I thank you for all the work that you do with children and wish you continued success.